let's just chat really quickly about houseplants.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the thing about houseplants is I love them. I love how green they are. I love how lush they make my apartment feel.
This is real.
But some of them are just so hard to keep alive.
This is very true. I actually maybe killed some of our plants when Christian was gone. So he came back yesterday and he's like, why is this plant dead? And I was like, I swear to God, I watered it a week ago, but it's been 90 degrees in our apartment.
Oh my God.
So that's definitely not enough water.
Are you able to revive it, or is it gone?
Yeah. They weren't too bad. I think like one of them, I think it has like an offshoot plant. So I think it's sucking nutrients out of the soil as well.
Oh,
but I will
competing.
redeem. Yeah, they're competing. But he leaves for another conference next week, and so I'm gonna have to redeem myself with this next, this next trip, and like
I believe in
really
you.
make sure I water and like I need to learn about fertilizer.
That's where I get confused because I can water it and like I can put it in the sun, but as soon as I have to start feeding it,
Yeah.
what?
I'm confused. Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean compost? What do you mean fertilizer?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people get fancy and they put like pumice stones on top, and it's
What?
like to keep moisture in and humidity. And, you know, there's a lot to learn. I am a student of life.
And I'm hearing something about like worm castings.
What are
is
worm
that?
castings?
I think it's like a fancy way of saying poop.
Oh, love that. Love that.
And apparently that you're supposed to give that to your plants.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah. I've heard eggshells as well. Like if you crush up eggshells and then you put
really?
them on your plants, it provides like calcium and nutrients.
Ooh, plants need calcium for their
do.
strong bones.
Strong bones, yes.
Yeah.
They're famously strong bones.
They need to grow tall and strong.
So
Yeah.
real.
One thing that annoys me is everyone is always like, oh my God, you should start with succulents. They're so easy
They're
to
not
take care
easy.
of. They're not easy.
I've killed every succulent I've ever had.
Me too. It's like if I have a succulent, it doesn't matter what kind it is, I will kill it within a month.
Yep. Because then I'm like, how much water is too much water?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get no water, and then they die. And so
Yeah, because people are like, oh, you like just neglect them and like water them once a month. And I do that. And still,
yes,
I can't figure it out.
I agree. I also have a problem sometimes where I'll have a plant and I'm kind of clumsy, and I'll like try to move it and then it'll just fall over.
Oh.
And then I'll have to like rescue it, put it back in the pot. But I did that for a succulent, and unfortunately the roots were just gone and the plant died.
Yeah.
Probably 6 months after. It was
Another 6 months is not bad.
it's not, but you had to watch it like slowly wither away.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bummer.
And succulents, I feel like, are the saddest to watch die because they just get like, they turn to mush. And you're
Yeah.
like, what is this?
There's nothing to save them. They're just gone.
No.
It's so sad. The air plant that we recently got, I put it in a cup of water and I set my timer for 10 minutes like the instructions told me to.
Yeah.
And then I came back 3 hours later and was like, oh my God, it sunk to the bottom. And I had to dry it out, and I think it's okay right now. But
Okay.
we're monitoring it.
I also have that same air plant because it was from an event. It was a
Yes.
giveaway at an event that we both went to. And I have not watered mine. You may be able to see it over there. It is completely crispy. But
We love it.
I consider that
That's
in
alive.
the succulent family. Oh, yeah, it's alive. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
It exists,
Listen,
and therefore it's alive.
If it's not brown and it doesn't crumble, it's alive.
I haven't done the crumble test yet, but we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Nice.
Well, welcome back to the Hoot and Holler podcast.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. I'm so nervous.
Oh my God, don't be nervous. Well, you're a very special guest, and I'm going to do a little intro for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm ready.
So today's guest is a very talented writer,
Oh my.
a very talented editor. Honestly, anything involved in filmmaking, producing, directing, she's got you covered.
Oh my gosh,
She can do it all.
You were overestimating me.
No.
Overestimating me.
And I think you're also like one of the most organized people I've ever met.
That is so kind of you. Thank you. I definitely was not like that when I was young. I would forget my math homework every day, and my mother would ground me.
Oh my God. Well,
it's
you've
a learned
changed.
skill. It's a learned skill.
You've grown.
Here we are.
And you are Elyse. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Elyse and I, we are good friends. We used to work together. Not anymore. We're like, we work adjacently. Yeah. Now we just chill. We go roller skating on occasion. We play board games.
Yes.
And we just vibe.
We vibe.
Yeah. And today's topic is something very near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
For different reasons, though, I think.
Ooh.
The topic is fan fiction.
Yes. Oh my God. My yell. I saw like the level spike. So that's the loudest I'll get this entire podcast.
It's okay. We peak on every episode.
Great.
It's fine. The listeners, I'm sure, hate it, but they will deal with it.
Heck yeah. Wait, what is your overview or like your relationship to fan fiction? I'm so curious.
So I don't actually read fan fiction like at all, but I write fan fiction.
Oh my God.
Just for fun. And I know you read,
yes.
But do you write?
I've written 2, I think, and they're super short.
Okay.
And they're probably like less than 1,000 words. And I think people online like to read long fics. Like I think it's harder to get an audience for like sub 1,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mostly use my AO3 account as bookmarks. So anything that I read that I like, I just bookmark so I can come back to it. And then there's like 2 pieces on there. But I get super nervous and then I just like don't look at them after I've written them. And I'm just like, hope people like them. Woo.
Have you ever shared them publicly with people you know? Or is it completely
not.
Okay?
That is complete. I feel like that would be a little too telling. I'm not ready for that yet. But I have graduated to giving recs to people. So Michelle, who was on one of your previous podcasts, I gave her some recommendations, and I feel like that was just a new level of friendship where you're like, this is between you and me and God.
Yeah, you
like,
know you're close.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what is the subject matter?
Yes.
And is it 18 plus?
Sometimes.
Listen, we like what we like, and there's no shame.
There's no shame. And she liked them, so it's great.
Friend approved.
Indeed.
So for the fan fictions that you wrote, are they like single chapter, or would you consider it a complete story, or did it just kind of trickle off?
I would probably say it's like, since they're less probably sub 600, I would say it's a complete moment in time. And like you might enter in at a certain moment of the character's life, but like what started is finished in the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but like it definitely feels like it's only a moment in time of their life. And like if you wanted to expand upon it, you totally could.
That's good though. Like you have a complete, like your story has a beginning, middle, and end.
Yes, I think so.
So I think readers will be satisfied with that.
I know. It's just like a good mood. Like I feel like they're more atmospheric pieces than anything. So
yeah, because everything I've ever written has like only made it like halfway through act 1.
Oh, I just love.
And then it just never ends.
And that's so fair. Sometimes you just need to get it going. And then that's it.
And sometimes you need to take a break. Like I come back to it every now and then. I think I started it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And then sometimes I just get bored and I'm like, let's write a chapter tonight.
That's so fair. I think like all the best fan fiction authors are like that because, you know, they're writing on their free time. And I always love seeing like authors' notes being like, oh, sorry, this is late. Like I had my wedding. And so I'm uploading this right before our reception. And it's like,
oh my God.
It's like, what do you mean? Like go enjoy your wedding.
Like we can wait.
Yeah.
It's okay. Priorities.
It's important.
And then feed us.
Yes. Yes. We respect your alone time, but also we need to be
fed.
Yes.
I love it. Well, you did a lot of research. So I think we should tell the listeners before we get too far, what even is fan fiction?
Oh my goodness. So fan fiction is fiction written by a fan of a created work. Yeah, right. But it's like usually about a TV series or a movie or books or comics. So like the person writing has not created those characters. They're not their own characters, but they love something so much and they want to see more of the world or explore more about a character or a relationship that might not be canon, but they would love to be canon. But I really like it because I feel like it takes someone from like just consuming media to then like actively interacting with it and then making it something their own. And you can have fic that's about like relationships, so like a slash or a pairing that you really like, or you can do one that's self-insert. So like you love a character so much, you are now in a relationship with them.
No.
And I'm not gonna lie, 6th grade Elyse, she was there. She was doing stuff.
Wait, you were self-inserting?
Or like you'd make like an OC, and that OC would be in the world.
Ah, I see. And you're like, it's not me, but it's kind of
it's
me.
like a proxy.
Yeah.
Know?
Wow. Okay.
And then, or you could have ones that are just character studies. So some people like love a character so much that they just want to do like a whole 20,000 word count fic about this person's inner thought process.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Truly. It's whatever you want it to be.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about this until right now, but like, are there any legal ramifications to like using people's...
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. That I did look this up because I'm so fascinated by it. And like, I think in my major 2 in college, we talked a lot about remixing. And so there's a really popular website called Archive of Our Own, which is kind of like the main site, and it houses like fanfic for anything imaginable, and it's totally open source. It's run by volunteers, but they have a whole legal team that are kind of like helping make sure that the site stays up, because of course, 20th Century Fox I'm sure would love to shut down stuff about their own characters and their own brand, but they believe it's legal under the fair use doctrine, meaning that they need like the work is transformative enough that it's giving new meaning to an original work. So like it's not rewriting the series, it's kind of like someone else's own take on it, and because it's not for profit, it's legal. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna think, because like when you're on these websites, it's honestly just for like the joy of creating and sharing, right?
Yes.
Or are they profiting off of?
No, so to be on AO3 cannot get any like money from it, so no one can be sending you stuff, and like you can't sell your work for commercial like rights. If you do, there's been a lot of fan fiction authors that have started on AO3 and then become published authors, but they have to like they either like take their fic down, or they'll like change it enough that while maybe inspired by a fic, it's no longer the fic, and like of course like change the names of the characters and stuff.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard that like 50 Shades of Grey started as a fan fiction.
And a fun fact, Twilight was actually a My Chemical Romance fan fiction.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and then 50 Shades of Grey is
a Twilight fan fiction.
Yes.
So it's like multiple layers. This is the inception of fan fiction.
It is, yeah. It's really, really crazy. But I feel like what's so cool about it is you can take a character and then put them in a new context, but like keep their character arc. So people will take, I don't know, like Captain Kirk, and they'll be like, what if he was a surgery fellow in the ER? And then they would like take his whole character and then write a hyper specific fan fiction about life as an ER fellow surgeon, like, and the whole thing. So it's hyper specific to someone's experience, but then it has like the character arc that you know and love of Captain Kirk. So
that's so interesting.
It's wild, yeah. So if you kind of just change the name, it could be different enough that you might not even recognize that it is Kirk.
And then there's no legal ramifications to that for sure.
Exactly. You can be like, this came out of my own brain. Like, come on.
I love it. Okay, so we're protected. AO3 users, we're protected.
We are.
Keep on writing.
I know. Amazing. Gifts to the world.
And then, so you mentioned slash fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I really want to get in deeper on that.
Yeah. So it's slash fiction or slash fic kind of started in the 1960s, I think, with Captain Kirk and Spock. And so this was mostly like female fans that wanted them to be in a relationship. And so the slash was because you do Kirk slash Spock, and that's the relationship. So that's still used in AO3, where it's like, I feel like a popular one is like Harry slash Draco. So like they are in a relationship. But I think it used to be mostly used for like same-sex like relationships, and now it's kind of just gone into if you just want to see two people in a relationship. But it really started with Kirk and Spock.
So you can really make some unlikely pairings.
Yes.
I do love the like a Harry Draco, where it's like the two people in the original work who hate each other, complete villains.
Yes.
And then you can turn that on its head.
Yes. And be like,
or not heroes, villains to lovers. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers, yes.
Yes. I love enemies to lovers. Also, do want to say, even though I feel like in our generation, we can't not talk about Harry Potter in terms of fandom, because it's such a powerful fandom, but we do not support Joanne, like, and J.K. Rowling and like her views on things. So yeah, I thought that the relationship and like the fandom response to that has been really interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So, but I feel because like a lot of Harry Potter fan fiction is queer and like a way to explore queer identities in like this kind of fantastic world. And so you saw a lot of people actually leave the fandom when her views came out, because rightly so, she's made this world they loved but now no longer feel safe in. And then you have other people who have been like, death of the author, like she may have written this, but it's ours now because it's become something so much bigger than her.
Yeah.
And continue to write. But will often include like links to support groups or communities and like nonprofit organizations that you can donate to kind of combat her negative influence and hurt to the queer community. So
like the fan fiction I was writing was mainly in the Harry Potter fandom.
Oh my God, wait, who? Tell me. I need to know.
So it was kind of juicy. It was a Hagrid / OC.
Oh my gosh, love. Wait, I love that. Wait, why Hagrid? What like about him compelled you?
I don't know, actually. It just kind of happened. When I write for fun, I don't go in with a plan. Just like this podcast. I don't plan anything in advance. So thank you for coming with notes.
Heck yeah.
But I'm just here to have fun, to vibe, and whatever like flows out of my fingers and onto that keyboard at the time, like that's what's gonna happen. So I started. It was just an OC, and Hagrid just appeared in a scene, and they fell like it just happened organically, like through the story. I did not plan it, so I wasn't necessarily drawn to Hagrid as a character. It just happened. It happened. Yeah.
Wait, that's kind of the best though. And then you kind of do you find yourself like liking Hagrid more now that you've like stumbled upon, like written him into this fan fiction? Like you're like, oh, he's actually a very complex and deep character.
Oh yeah, I'm exploring many different facets of Hagrid that were not explored in the books or movies.
Excellent.
Yeah, he has a jealous side in this story.
Hagrid.
I still haven't gone super far, so like the romance is just starting. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. 3 years in the making. This might be a lifelong project. And that's honestly
so good. Those are the ones that we wait for.
Yeah.
I feel like I've written one where people are like, I've been wanting to write this fic for 10 years and here it is. And I'm like, incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. This has lived with you for 10 years. It's beautiful. Yeah.
The story it comes out when it's ready.
It does. And it's for fun.
I was going to say, since I am writing in the Harry Potter fan fiction world, I was trying to read in the Harry Potter fan fiction world just to be like inspired and to try to like find community I was using Wattpad at the time. But there were some strange tropes and takes.
Yes.
One of the most popular ones that really shocked me is like critical illness or paralysis.
Oh.
So it would be like, oh, in this, it's retelling Harry Potter, but he's like stuck in a wheelchair.
Oh, that's awesome.
In this story, like Harry is brain dead, and his friends have to figure out like how life continues with like a brain dead Harry.
Whoa, interesting. Whoa, I haven't read anything like that, but I feel like I've read stuff where like Harry is Indian, which I feel like is a very big thing in fan canon.
Wait, he's in what? He's in danger?
Indian. So they're like, oh, Indian Harry Potter is a very popular tag. And so they kind of retell Harry Potter or like delve deeper into the ramifications of if he's Indian, how does that look? How does his culture come out in different ways in the books and how that influenced stuff? So is he still going to Hogwarts? Like yes, yeah.
Okay.
He'll be like Indian British. And so I think the most common one is like his dad is Indian and then his mom is white. And so he's raised by his white, like crazy uncle and aunt. And then that is like an added layer of kind of angst, but also kind of beautiful because then the writers can bring in all of these cool aspects of Indian British culture. And so you're reading something that you know and that you love, but then you're also able to explore like, oh, like if you're not Indian British, like how would you know? Like how would you know this world? And then I was like, oh, all these cool things, like little, I don't know. It's really fascinating.
I feel like you have to be from a specific community and have such a unique perspective to like even come up with that twist. And I think that's what makes fan fiction so beautiful. Like
I know
everyone contributes their own voice.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I love it so much. And I think it's really cool too because you're like, oh, like why couldn't Harry Potter be Indian? There's like so many British Indians in obviously Britain. So why should they be included kind of in this world?
Yeah, I'm not like too much of a history buff, but they like Great Britain and India definitely had something going on, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Great
Britain was definitely a colonizer.
Yeah. Because that's how sorry, I'm getting way off topic, but isn't like chicken tikka masala like the like national dish of England or something? Or did I make that up?
I think it was started in Scotland. Okay,
Scotland.
We'll have to fact check this because it was either Ireland or Scotland, but like they made it because British people. It was more palatable to British people. Kind of like how Chinese American food here is like not really like authentic Chinese food. It's more just like it was developed like in San Francisco because the miners would eat that. But it's not like traditional Chinese cuisine.
I'm like so fat. Like in school, I hated history, but like I do love the little tidbits that like I'm fascinated by how all this intermingling happens.
It's so fascinating. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What made you choose Wattpad over AO3?
I had never heard of AO3 until I met you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
I was so happy to introduce you to this because this might make people angry, but I don't think Wattpad is like top tier, like literary form. But I have found like some gems in AO3 that I'm like, holy crap. Like, what the fuck? Like, this should be published or this like changed my life. And a lot of times fan fiction authors on there sometimes are published authors. And so you're getting like real top tier content for free.
So you think AO3 has like a higher caliber of writing quality than
Yes.
Wattpad?
Yeah, I think it varies drastically. You know, you can have, I've read some not great fics on AO3, but I think because there's just so much on AO3 and so much of the community is based around there, you can find some really, really good stuff. If you're interested in Harry and Draco, I can send you some.
Yeah. I mean, I still to this day have not visited that website. And I think that's why I'm not an avid reader, because as I was reading these Harry Potter fan fictions for inspiration, like they weren't great. But I also think that's fun too, to like read something that's not super refined and just like someone throwing their wildest ideas.
And you're like, I love this for you.
Yeah. That's really fun. But yeah, I think it would be nice to read something that's like publishable quality.
Yeah. I have one. Maybe I'll send you.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm
it's pretty
excited.
Good. Yeah.
What are your favorite tropes and your favorite communities, or like
oh my god,
yeah,
my favorite thing to talk about. I really love like enemies to friends to lovers. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is my shit. And then I also love case fics, which are
what's that?
It's basically a fic that is all about a case. So it's like, you know, if you're watching an episode of the X-Files, that whole episode is about they're trying to solve one mystery in one thing. And so that's kind of like the fic is. Like the whole fic could be like 12 chapters, but it's all centered around like they're probably like investigators or they're solving a problem. And so it'll be about them working through like an unsolved case of any variety. I love that stuff because like I feel like it mixes a wonderful plot. Like this person had to like think through this plot and like the perpetrators and tangled web of politics, and then also they're adding like a romantic blossoming on top of that.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. So I love a case fic. I love an enemies to friends to lovers. One of my favorite fandoms is For the Untamed, which is a Chinese drama.
Okay.
And it's with Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian. And so it's like set in ancient China. Like this is like a drama where like they have long flowing robes and they can fly and they use swords, but they'll have like modern AUs. So it's like, what if it's these characters, but they're set in the 2010s, or like they're going to college at like Harvard or something. So I love that. And also I love fics that are hyper specific. So kind of like the James Captain Kirk one, where it's like, all of a sudden he's a hospital fellow. Like I don't even know that's the right term for it, but like he works in the ER and they're getting through their fellowship together. And it's just like, and I'm just like, wow, this person clearly works in the ER.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool.
Or they just have some weird fixation and have learned
so
too much
about
knowledge.
It. Yeah, maybe they never got to the ER, you know, maybe they wanted to and they couldn't. This is their way of living it out. And I also love Only One Bed. What can I say?
Only one bed?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like they're going somewhere, they're on a trip or whatever. They get to a hotel. They're both in love with each other. They don't know they're in love with each other. The hotel only has a room with one bed in it. And what are they to do except share the bed?
Whoa. That's a popular trope?
It's a popular trope.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I like that one.
I love like the ones where there's like a plane crash and you're stuck on an island with like a pop star.
Oh my god, that's so good. Very lost of them.
Yeah, those are super fun. I think the fan fictions for like, this might be controversial, but for like real people,
oh my gosh,
I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I personally do not condone that. I'm like, these are real people. You can't pretend that you know them, like they're not characters for you to like kind of write. But I know it is very popular, especially with like One Direction.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. There's always a plane crash and you're stuck on the island with One Direction.
Yeah, or like you run a bookstore and then Harry Styles comes running in and he's like, I just need to hide from my fans, and he falls in love with you.
What are like the moral implications of that? Because like I can see like it's scary because this is a real person and you're putting words in their mouth and like making them behave in ways they probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it is completely fictional and like everyone is aware of that.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because like one of the big scandals in the last year, like in the Untamed fandom and also like with AO3 in general, was the actor Xiao Zhan who plays Wei Wuxian. Also, so sorry, I'm only half Chinese. I can't speak Chinese that well.
It sounded good to me.
Thank you. But like basically AO3 got censored in China because people were shipping him and his co-star, like the real people, together, and China's not like openly super supportive of LGBTQ plus people. I think like they have vibrant communities there, but as a pop star And as an idol, like that's probably like more like a taboo to have. Like you kind of want to be seen as like unattached, so like your fans can believe that they could be with you. That's very popular in K-pop as well. There was a lot of like slash fiction with like the two real people, and then it was getting to such a fever pitch that his career was kind of impacted by it. And then China actually censored and like shut down AO3. And then Chinese fans of AO3 were so angry that they called for like an entire boycott of all Xiaojian products. So basically got him like kicked off of like all these sponsorships and brand deals that he had because they were so angry and they raised such a fuss online.
The actor himself?
Yeah. So his actual livelihood was like heavily impacted.
Is he, so you think he's responsible, or do you think it's like the production company who's like, we don't want him to?
I don't know. I don't think it's his fault, because like he's just a person trying to live his life, and he wasn't like saying like anything bad about it. He wasn't like, oh, well, it's not me. He was just kind of like living his life. But I think it was the fandom got so rabid that it left the online sphere and leached into his actual life. So he actually then had to apologize and be like, I'm so sorry that AO3 is down. Like, I apologize to all you, like everyone that I did this. But he didn't really do anything. It was just the fandoms got too rabid. The government was like, we can't have this. And then he got in trouble and had to like issue a public apology.
That's crazy.
I know. And I was like, he just wanted to be an actor, you know? He just wanted to showcase his talents and his beautiful face.
And now also that whole website is like restricted for all these people, a whole country of people.
Yeah, a whole country of people, unless you have a VPN. But
oh my God.
I know. It's wild. So I feel like I'm like, real life people shipping, let's let them live, you know?
Yeah. Do any websites have restrictions on that? Like, are they like, we do not support stories that mention real people, or?
I think that's a big thing. So like LiveJournal, fanfiction.net, even Wattpad. I actually don't know about Wattpad. So they censor that kind of stuff, so they remove it. But AO3 is different in that they allow everything, and they're like, you can't like contact anybody on it. So it's like you put the fic up, people can interact with kudos or comments, but like that's kind of the end of it.
Okay.
So they are like, we allow anything on here. We don't censor anything because we want to make sure everyone has a space for everything. Because once you start like the policing people stuff, it could be a quick slide into censorship.
Yeah.
Which is like a very controversial stance for them to have. And a lot of people are like, this is really inappropriate. Like, you should not be allowing people to read this. But you can also like flag a fic for abuse and be like, hey, this is actually really, really messed up and stuff like that. And like they will go and like look at it. And also they'll block people who themselves are being a menace on the site. So instead of blocking fics, they'll block people.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. I think it's like a moral gray area because the kids can't access this site. So they can kind of read anything on there.
Yeah.
If there's not like an 18 up, there might be an 18 up limit. But also I would say that people on AO3 are really good at tagging their fics. So they put like a ton of trigger warnings. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, this is exactly what's in this. Like they have something that's called like dead dove, do not eat, which is... when you say it out loud, it's kind of weird. It's like a strange thing to say.
I'm confused.
But it basically means like, this is not a happy ending. This is like a really fucked up fic. Like, don't read this unless you're ready to be mentally distressed. Like it is what it says in the tin. And so using those tags, people are usually able to be like, okay, I don't want to read this. And I feel like a big thing in the fan fiction community is like, if you don't like it, you don't have to read it. Like, this is someone writing it for free and putting it up. If you don't like it, like X out of it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's like a double-edged sword where it's like maybe like you need a lot of media literacy to be able to like consume fics in a healthy way, which you probably don't have when you're 12.
Yeah.
But also like censorship can turn into something kind of authoritarian. So I don't know where I stand. I feel like I'm older, so I'm like, people write what they write. If I don't like it, I'm just not going to interact with it. I don't know.
It's like when you're older and you don't have children, like you're not as concerned. But I wonder if like,
oh yeah, I think parents like are like, ban this site. This is crazy. So yeah, I don't know.
Imagining like, your child popping open that AO3 and reading some really horrifying stories. Yeah. It's good though that like they're kind of self-policing though, and hopefully they're staying true to that and not like trying to break rules, because I feel like if you allow anything, it can be such a slippery slope. Yeah. So, and I think fandom too kind of watches out where like if you're in a fandom, someone will be like, hey, don't read this person, or like, hey, this person has a history of this, like, so they'll kind of self-police within the fandom as well. But Keep
I
each
know.
other accountable.
Yeah.
Keep yourself accountable.
Yeah, I agree. There's been bullying in fandoms, especially on AO3, like leaving really mean comments on people's stuff. And then that person gets banned. But they can always create a new address and start again.
Oh, God.
But I don't know.
Nowhere is truly safe
No,
on the internet.
not at all.
Nowhere.
What a crazy place. This
Read
used to
with
be.
caution.
I know.
But please read, people.
I know. Please
It's
read.
important.
It is important. Media literacy, knowing what you like. Use your
have
brain.
I have a really hot take, and I don't think it will be received well. But when people are like, I love to read, and I'm like, oh, what are you reading? And they're like, oh, it's like the 7 healthy habits of, or like,
Oh, yeah.
like a self-help book or
Yeah.
like a business book. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not reading.
That's just gathering information.
Yeah, I'm like, reading is like about entering like a different world, like exploring different mindsets. And I'm like, when you're reading like a nonfiction book that's just like telling you how to be a better person, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think after a while, if that's all you read, how much new information are you getting?
Yeah.
You know, like I think books should like introduce you to new points of view. And like, who amongst us has not run a self-help book? You know, like I've run like a financial literacy book, but like that's for me to like get information in a way and less about like exploring different worlds or like opening my mindset.
Yeah. I think it's more so for me just like the like setup and the disappointment, because I love to read. So when I hear someone go, oh, I love to read, and I get so excited, and I'm like, oh, what genre do you like? And then to just hear it's like self-help, I'm like,
book.
that's not reading.
Do you think
That's research.
could it be a gateway into reading for some people?
Maybe, but I don't think so, because I feel like there's such a divide. Do you feel that way? Like I feel like there's nonfiction people and there's fiction people.
That's true. Yeah. Like my partner is very nonfiction and I am very fiction.
Yeah.
I'll be so real. I have not ever finished a nonfiction book if it wasn't required for school.
Yeah.
I just am like, I get the gist. Actually, no, that's a lie. I read Being Mortal, which was like one of my favorite nonfiction books, but that's because such an excellent storyteller. Like he really wove a story, introduced so many points of view.
Yeah, I wish we had like a different word for it so that I just don't get excited.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I love reading, or maybe like, I love journalism, or I don't know. I love learning about the past.
History.
I love history.
Yeah, I love history. I feel like that's cool. Because if you say I love history, like there are very interesting like nonfiction history books, which I think like do the same thing, like invite you into a new world and a new time.
Yeah.
But self-help books, yeah, good in moderation, but maybe not all to read.
Yeah. It's like, I respect that you like that, but let's just not call it reading.
That's fair.
I don't know if that makes any sense. That's just a weird thing I have in my brain.
I guess too, like if you love to read for prose and like you're a writer and you're looking for new inventive ways that people are communicating ideas through like language, I feel like a self-help book or like a business book is not going to fulfill that love.
No.
Because it is all about just like communicating like the bare information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which there is an art behind that as well. It's just such a different art.
Yeah.
That I'm like, they can't even be compared. It'd be like saying I love reading and then you like watch a YouTube video. Like you're still getting information, but
That's true.
in a different way.
Yeah. I was a really big part of the X-Files fandom when I was in college, which was like 6 years ago. It was kind of probably when I got into it. And so I did like a project on fandom and stuff for them for one of my like last classes. And it was so fascinating to see how like the X-Files is actually kind of credited with coining the term shippers. So it started off, I was like, what the heck? People who wanted to see Mulder and Scully in a full-on romantic relationship, which was teased throughout the entire series, started as relationshippers, which then became our shippers, which then became shippers, shipping, and to ship, which is kind of what we use now.
Yeah.
Which is so fascinating.
And that was happening because X-Files has been off the air for a long time, or is it still going?
No, it's been off for a long time. There was like a reboot in the mid 2010s, but we don't talk about that. At least I don't talk about that. It doesn't exist for me.
And they were using that terminology back then, because to me, I'm like, ship is a new-ish within the past 5-10 years, right?
Yeah. So they were using this back in the 90s.
Wow.
And in that evolution. So it happened because with the rise of the internet, like you had all of these new forums and websites and ways of building websites that you weren't ever able to do before. So people who loved the X-Files go online and find other people who love the X-Files. And that's kind of like the rise of like fandom as we know it today. And they used to use a lot of kind of like listservs and blogs as Usenets. And I was like, what's a Usenet?
Yeah, what is that?
I've never heard of that. And a Usenet is one of the oldest discussion tools for computer networks, and it predates the World Wide Web by almost a decade. And it's like text only. And so it forced users to come up with like really creative shorthands and stuff, since we didn't have emojis and they couldn't like support that. But it was created, like fandom was created by and for the internet, which is why it like still kind of lives primarily on Twitter and Tumblr today. And I was like, well, why the X-Files? And in my research, I did not cite any sources, but I did do the research, and other people much smarter than me like found this. The X-Files premiered in 1993, which is kind of when the internet kind of was born. And like, who could afford the internet? Adults. You know, who had the time to learn the internet? Adults. And the X-Files premiered at 9 p.m. So it's mostly adults between ages 18 and like 49-ish watching. So like, you had people who newly had access to the internet, wanted to learn the internet, and then were part of the show that really captured the imagination. And that's how it gave way to like these Angel Fire sites and like these GeoCities, all like text-based websites where people could like just hyperlink fics, and they would share them amongst listservs, be like, hey, this author made this new fic, here it is. And they would send it out to like a listserv of like 800 people. So it kind of connected everybody, and that's how like fandom was really formed.
Wow. I wonder if it was easier or harder to form a community back then, because I feel like back then, if you were going through the trouble of seeking out those like very specific websites, you're probably going to be invested. Whereas now I feel like your attention is spread so thin between so many different groups and sites and fandoms. It might be harder to build an audience. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. I think it was much more like, and I was not alive back then, so this is my speculation, but I think that maybe it was a little bit a smaller community for sure, more tight knit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now you can be on Twitter but not Tumblr, or Tumblr but not Twitter, or just AO3, and like you're kind of picking and choosing how much you want to be involved. But this feels a little bit more central in a way. Fascinating. It was like kind of wild too, because like when I was reading fics for the X-Files, I like was able to read things that were written 20, 30 years ago. Actually, it wasn't 30 years ago. It was maybe like 20 years ago. But when I was reading them, and it's like so wild to like read something that was written 20 years ago by someone who loved the same that I loved. And then you feel this connection to this person who's probably like what, in their 40s now, or like even older. But at one point was writing something and it still lives on. And I feel like it always makes me very melancholy when I see someone leave a fandom, because, you know, you're anonymous. You have a username. And once you leave or abandon or orphan all your fics, like they're kind of lost to the wind, and your traces kind of, it kind of exists outside of you now. And it just makes me really melancholy. It's like, oh, this person used to be so involved. You know, they made such an impact in so many people's lives and still are, but like we never know who they are. You know, they'll never know.
I wonder if there's like a Van Gogh situation where like there was some like really prolific fanfic author who like wrote all the time in their teens and then just like deleted their account. But now all of a sudden they're like blowing up. Everyone loves their writing. Like I wonder if that happens.
I feel like it must.
That'd be so cool. But you're still alive, so like you could find out.
You could, yeah. I mean, like you'd have to go back into that space, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm famous. It's wild.
Wow.
I see people who like have hated the fandom, left, deleted their thing, and then come back and then like repost all their fics. So it could be like a cycle. But also there are people who have left completely and orphaned them, so it's not even attached to a username. It's kind of just like I've read fics by what's called orphan account. And then I've read like 3 that I'm like, these sound really familiar. Like this tone of voice is really the same. And then I go online, and you have to go way back into like the archives of Tumblr to find someone like commenting about all these things, and then it clicks. And you see like the name, like how they all are all written by the same person. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Orphaned fanfics.
Yeah,
that sounds like a treasure trove of like possibilities.
I know. It's really, really so wild. I guess something that's like kind of cool that I was like, wow, this is really weird that happened. But I was reading a book, like a published book. And I was like, I know this voice. Like, I'm like, I know this person, and I don't know how this feels so familiar. And so I looked the author up, and I went through like a ton of blogs or whatever. And it turns out she's a fan fiction writer. And I had just read one of her new fics the day before.
What?
And I was like, that's so insane that like, of course I liked her book because I love her fics. And that was like so strange to come across, where you could recognize their voice in the published world under like their real name and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's actually, and then be like, oh, but I know them because I read them like fan fiction.
I love that. I feel like that's the mark of like a really good writer, because if you can recognize their writing the way that we would recognize like a singer's voice, you must have like such a unique style that sets you apart from everyone else.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
It's so cool too, because like Naomi Novik, who Rowan and I really love, she's a really great like YA author and just like a adult fantasy author, and I love her stuff. And she is actually one of the founders of the Organization for Transformative Works, which is the people who run AO3.
Oh, cool.
So and it's so fascinating because she does a lot of like retelling of Russian fairy tales, but because she's done that work already in fan fiction, she does it really, really well, and like just makes such compelling works of fantasy. But yeah, I was like, wow, we love to see a transition.
I love it. Elyse, tell me why you love fan fiction.
Oh my gosh, such a great question. Why do I love fan fiction so much? I think it has to do a lot with development of online communities. And, you know, it creates a way for fans to interact with the media they love instead of passively consuming it. And it kind of becomes like a collaboration between like someone who's watching something or reading something and like the person who created it. So I think it's like really cool. You can like comment on something that you love. Yeah. Whether like calling them out for it or like celebrating it. And I think it's all about like open source creativity. Like, whoa, like you have the agency to like recognize themes that you like and then remix it in a way that speaks to you more. And I think, like I said before, it's a way for people to be exposed to different life and perspectives, because like you say, like you love Harry Potter, like you love the characters, but all of a sudden like Harry Potter's Indian. Like all of a sudden you're exposed to a whole new community and way of thinking that like you haven't before, but you're kind of eased into it because you kind of already know like their backstory and has a framework that you feel really comfortable in. And like for the Untamed, like it exposed so many people to like Chinese dramas and stuff. So people watched that show, found a fandom they loved, and then started supporting kind of Chinese dramas from China. But also you saw a rise of like Chinese American authors, and especially like older Chinese American authors, and people who maybe were not Chinese American but loved the show were reading stuff set in the 2010s about being Chinese American at Harvard. And like they talk about like Chinese school and like community centers and pressures of parents and growing up as a first gen in America. So I just found that so fascinating.
That made me think like it's like a chicken or the egg situation. Like, do you think that a lot of these shows are already, or these shows or books or movies are already popular and then people flock to it for fan fiction? Or do you think that people will start writing fan fiction about shows in the early stages and then that grows the community, which makes the show take off in popularity?
That's so good. I feel like honestly you have to like the show enough to then once it's finished, like you watch the canon like original show, and then once you finish it, usually people are like, I want to know more about this, I want to talk about this with someone, I wish they did this in the show. And that's, at least that's how I approach things, where I feel like I always watch the thing first and then I finish and I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave this world yet, like I love this so much, I want to talk with more people about it or hear people's different takes.
So for a lot of communities, like the fan fiction won't even start until the entire series is done, the entire book is done.
And you can see like, especially with fandoms that go on for a long time, you can say, oh, this was written before this happened. So I think fan fiction comes at all stages, but I think once it ends is kind of when I personally start looking for it, because then the characters in the fan fiction can reference all parts of the series. But to each their own too.
And the story lives on. That makes so much sense. You're craving more. I feel like every time I finish a show or a book series, I'm like, I'm like depressed.
I know
that this world has ended. This world that I've invested so much time into. And you are craving like a continuation of that story. That makes so much sense.
It's so fascinating. And then my last reason why I love it so much is actually activism. And that like there's this idea of like the collective imagination and the civic imagination, which is something we talked about like when I was at school. And like the civic imagination is, you know, you can't make and actually achieve a better future unless you can imagine it. So you'll see a lot of fandoms actually rally around causes and utilize this huge community for like COVID relief or stopping Asian hate or like donating to different charities. a really cool thing to see, like during COVID, when like a lot of like Asian hate crimes were going on, was the Untamed fandom did like multiple fundraisers where if we reach this goal of like 10K, this person will write a fic for someone, or like if you donate $20, you'll get a personalized fan art from this artist that's really big on Tumblr. And so people are really motivated to then donate to causes that kind of tie into the fandom. Yeah, it's such a fascinating way to like mobilize people.
Because it is such a hyper-specific community for a lot of these stories. So you already know these are people who care about these issues.
Yeah. So it's fascinating.
That's great.
Yeah. I think a lot of like Harry Potter fandoms too, especially after J.K. Rowling came out as a turf and horrible person, have like linked a lot to like trans rights organizations and donating to like a lot of different nonprofits and stuff for that as a way to combat that. So it's really cool. I don't know.
I want to do something that terrifies me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what is it?
I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone, and I want to share a couple passages from my fan fiction.
I'm so ready. Wait, do I get context? Like what? Who?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'll tee you up for each section.
Excellent.
And then I want to get your take.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I want to hear an honest review.
Honest review. Like in terms of pros, in terms of like
everything.
XXX factor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Everything. Okay, and just for context, this was not written by me as a teenager. This is like all within the past 3 years.
I love this for you.
So we'll see how embarrassing this is. And it's a little tongue in cheek.
And that's good.
Like I'm aware of what I'm doing a little bit.
You're like playing into tropes that you know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is a not satire, but a character piece kind of.
I would say so. Where we are in the story right now is our female protagonist has learned that she is a witch. The way I kind of structured a lot of these chapters is that they open with a passage that's either in the past and it's like a flashback, or it's the character having some sort of introspective thought. We're getting a direct line of sight into their thought process.
Is this character older when she finds out she's a witch, or is this like 11 Hogwarts?
No. She is older. The like kind of plot of the story is that she is like a late bloomer.
Okay.
And she discovers that she's a witch like when she's already 17, about to turn 18. And she's going to have to start as a first year at Hogwarts.
I would be like, simply homeschool me.
Yeah. Not in this case. She's going to be like 30 by the time she graduates. Good for her. And no shame in that. You know, we love it. Okay, this is from chapter 7. It's titled Rejection, Ejection, and Emotional Self-Reflection. I felt great. For the first time, with my new balsa wood hamster heartstring wand tucked carefully into my cheer socks, I had real power, and I realized how wonderful it must feel to be a man, not having to peek around every corner and alleyway at night, anticipating an assailant, confident enough to walk alone without a canister of bear spray dangling from my hip, or sharp house keys protruding between my tense knuckles. I'm sure Hagrid and Damien, another OC, never checked their backseat for murderers before turning on the engine. Now I won't have to either. The engine. That fleeting moment of euphoric power faded away because I remembered that less than 24 hours ago, my sex-crazed boyfriend, the senior football captain and reigning spring fling king of the North High Nightingales, Chad Jensen, perished in a car fire. The engine of his beat-up 2008 Chevy Silverado exploded. It was a faulty oil cap, the authorities reported, and definitely not the fault of a stick-thin, super-hot teenage cheerleader witch, unable to control her emotions or her newfound power. I scrolled through Twitter reactions last night while Hagrid snoozed, the phone trembling between my fingers as I held back hot tears. Too handsome to die, they wrote. A chiseled jawline and 8-pack abs gone too soon, I read. A muscle-bound meat sack with a promising football arm wiped from this great earth by a defective carburetor. It was all too much to bear. Chad loved me, like really truly loved me, in a way I hadn't experienced in all 17 years of my existence. He kissed me and brought me gifts and grabbed my ass in front of all his friends and sometimes complimented the perky quality of my boobs. He made me feel special, beautiful, wanted.
Oh my God. Wow. The hamster heartstring thing really got me. I feel like that's like very tongue-in-cheek. It's like, who has a hamster heartstring? Like, how big are those things?
It's a very small wand.
It's a very small one.
Yeah.
It's minuscule.
How do you feel about... Oh, the main character's name is Millie.
Millie.
How do you feel about Millie in this moment?
I'm kind of like, girl, what is going on in your mind? Maybe you need to learn something about real life, you know? But I'm excited. I feel like it's so... The Chad thing was like a plot twist I wasn't expecting.
What was surprising?
I guess I was like, oh, did she have like... It's like so interesting to hear about her life before, you know? And also, did she like him? And also that she's a cheerleader. I'm like, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, she's like kind of popular and mean is the vibe, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
She's definitely a mean girl. This is not actually a reveal of information. Like, this all happens in the first chapter. But she does have like new revelations and like new information kind of comes out of it every time she flashes back. And I do that a lot. Like someone will mention a car and then or like a car part, and then she'll like go into a flashback and be like, oh my God, my boyfriend just died in a car fire.
Like, forgot about that for a second. Like everything was fine and now he's dead.
It's like almost every chapter something triggers her and she goes back to that place.
Do you like writing in the kind of mean girl, stereotypical like mean girl voice?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite characters to write.
Real.
Yeah,
I feel
so
like
fun.
something about it so fun to read too. Like, do you see her like? Did she have like a moment where she's like, I must change, or she kind of like begrudgingly changes over the chapters that you've written?
Yeah, I think she will change. Like, I think she's already changing a little bit because this is the first like trauma she's really. Well, actually, that's not true. She has a lot of trauma. I don't know if she'll change. I think it might also be a bit of a mask, a defense mechanism because of all the things from her childhood. There was a lot of things from her childhood, which is what the next passage is about.
All right, let's dive in.
Okay.
Let's do it.
This is from chapter 10. It's called Nurse Millie at Your Service. Okay, here we go. It may have been instinct or pure muscle memory, but my hands fashioned the tourniquet around Hagrid's pus-filled cankles without a passing thought. I was pretty well practiced, bandaging wounds, administering propofol, performing minimally invasive surgeries, after spending a full 6 weeks at safety camp. I was only 8 years old when the Hollowed Hills hitman claimed his first victim, a retired psychology professor from the local community college, survived by her daughter, granddaughter, and 2 prize-winning chow chows. I couldn't remember her name. There were too many names. But I remembered the police comparing the backside of her battered head to a package of lean ground beef, and they had no leads. In the meantime, my parents prescribed a long list of rules to ensure my safety. Never walk alone, never leave the home after sundown, never eat more than 2 cookies in one sitting. I was miserable, but deep down, I knew Deborah and Vilmer just wanted to keep me alive. Those twins from Babbling Brook weren't so lucky. An employee found them hogtied, glazed, and coal-fired inside a kiln at Color Me Mine. A week later, I was transported to the Beach Bark campgrounds, where I spent 6 weeks learning survival skills with my fellow elementary-aged classmates. Believe it or not, I loved every minute of the experience. I lived for the mud and sun before the lashes and extensions and acrylics. I was a bit of a wild child back in the day, in the I love archery and cauterizing flesh wounds kind of way. We wove palm fronds into stretchers, used yucca roots as sutures. We practiced disarming tactics and aiming for the jugular. We'd been prepared in case the hitman hit again, and he did, 29 more times that year.
Oh my God, the police in this town are not good at their jobs.
They're so bad.
I feel like the world is so interesting because this town has really been hit hard. Like, it's like Buffy with the Hellmouth, you know? Like, what is going on here?
The hitman, he's left quite a mark on this community.
Yeah. Is the hitman revealed? In this, or is it kind of just
all will be revealed in time. I do actually have a plan for how that story evolves.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
How long do you see this one being? Like, in general, like...
Oh my, this is going to be like 200,000 pages.
Amazing. Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think each chapter is like maybe it's like around 1,000 words. So I'm currently at 10,000, and I don't think I've even like they haven't even made it to Hogwarts yet.
So is she like kind of American and then she goes to Hogwarts, or oh, so she goes across the sea? Intriguing.
She's a transplant. She's a total fish out of water in every way.
Real.
Yeah.
Yeah. What inspired you to make the setting Hogwarts? Like,
it's the only
magic.
Wizarding World environment I really know.
So fair. And you wanted magic.
Yeah.
I like it.
I went in knowing I wanted a Harry Potter fan fiction, and this is just what came out of it.
I just love how every character is flawed. Like, she's not very nice. It does not sound like her parents are very nice. Like,
no.
The world is not very nice.
Yeah, she's been put through the ringer.
Yeah. It's giving me like kind of like Heather's vibes.
Oh.
Or I guess like kind of like, or I guess like campy. Like if I can kind of see this as a movie.
It's so campy. Yeah. I did incorporate some of my favorite tropes. I do have an enemies to lovers plot planned.
Oh yeah.
I do have. There is a whole section where on the journey to Hogwarts, she crash lands with Hagrid in a forest. So I kind of get my deserted island trope as well. Yeah, I have so many big plans for it, but I just need to keep writing it.
Yeah, as it comes. You know, as inspiration strikes. I like it. I like that she's kind of feared and revered. Like, I feel like sometimes in fics too, like you can have like this like, oh, I'm not cool, I'm not popular, but now I've discovered something that makes me that. And so it's really interesting to see someone who like I probably would be very scared of in high school.
Yeah.
Like going through it.
Yeah, I think maybe it's fun for me to write because I feel like in all the Mean Girl movies, you're always viewing it through like the nice girl's point of view, but it's like this is purely from her point of view and like seeing what she's feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if Mean Girls, you were viewing it through Regina's point of view.
Oh my God. I would watch that.
For those listeners who are joining us for the first time, this whole podcast is about the Hoot and Holler. The Hoot is something positive that you want to shine a bright, sparkling light on for everyone to see. And the Holler is something you want to condemn and warn people about and ward off spiritually, physically, and emotionally.
Excellent.
So do you want to start us off? Do you like starting on a positive note or saving the positive for the end?
I like to start off on a positive note.
All right, let's do our Hoots.
My Hoot would be, I got all of my Libby books in this week. So I had all my holds in the Libby app and they came in one after another. And now I'm set for like the next 2 weeks. But I had a little bit of anxiety because I'm like, how will I finish everything at once?
Yeah.
Like good things come too quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
So a little bit of anxiety, but mostly anticipation of the books I'm going to read.
Okay. Are they new releases or?
So one is by Naomi Novik, who was mentioned in today's podcast. And it's the Scholomance series. So the second book, and I'm almost done with that. And then I have to wait for the third one. And then I got, Margot's got Money Troubles, which I think is kind of a newish release. It's about this girl who gets pregnant by her English professor and like having to kind of roll with the punches that come with it.
Oh wow.
And
that
then
sounds interesting.
I know, I was really intrigued. And then A Witch's Guide to Burning, which is a novel that incorporates art in prose. So I think it's also done by someone who works in animation. So I've been enjoying all of those.
That's really cool. Yeah, the new releases sometimes stress me out because usually you only get 2 weeks.
Yes.
And otherwise you get like 4-ish.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I love using Libby, but I like their system where if it's an older book and like no one's queued up to rent it, it'll just like auto renew like forever and you can just keep reading it.
It's so good.
Hopefully you're able to get it all done and the stress will just fade away.
Someone told me a hack. They were like, yeah, I download everything to my Kindle and then I put my Kindle in airplane mode and remove it from the Wi-Fi. And then they're like, you can just keep it as long as you want because it'll like return to the library, but it won't go off of your device.
Oh.
Because it's not connected to the internet. So it's not like getting any information. And I was like, that is genius. Like, why
Life
did
hack.
I not think about that? So I may do that if push comes to shove.
Oh yeah, do it. That's so smart.
I know. I was like, brilliant.
Yay. Nothing better than a fresh set of books to read.
I know. And it's fall. So it's time to get more into dark academia, which I love. So
get cozy, light a candle.
Not speak to people for 3 days. Fantastic.
It's great. Sounds like a perfect weekend.
It does. It is. Cool. What's your hoot?
My hoot this week is leakers.
What is leakers?
And this kind of relates to this topic a little bit, but people who like leak things.
Oh.
So I'm in a lot of, I don't know, maybe not fandoms, but like communities. So a big one is Halloween Horror Nights. I'm also like very into the tech community. So like when they release new like phones or laptops or cameras, I love like looking at all the new technology and stuff. And I feel like back in the day, companies were so fun with their marketing and like engaging their audiences. For example, Halloween Horror Nights, they used to do like the creative director of the whole event had a Twitter account, and he would post like passwords and like code names to hint at what was coming that year. And I don't know if it's budget cuts or like he just got bored, but they stopped doing all that stuff. And now all the fans just have to rely on leakers who, you know, have that insider knowledge and like will leak out like little bits of information to like kickstart speculation, get the crowds excited. But really, I think they're so pivotal to building hype and like generating interest for new releases and announcements that like without leakers, our lives would be a lot more boring.
So true. That's so true. Because I remember like authors used to post snippets of their works in progress for their new books, and the way that would send me into a frenzy and be like, I need to be checking their website all the time. I need to like look at all their updates, like I need to follow them. And then you'd get the book and you'd be like so ready for the book because you already kind of knew what was going to happen, and like I'd be like front of the line, day of, like I've been preparing this for months type of thing. It's true. How do you feel about them for like TV and stuff?
I think they're always great, to be completely honest. Like they're putting their lives and their livelihood at risk to like keep the audience fed. And though I don't think necessarily that like stealing intellectual property and then releasing it's not necessarily like, I think stealing an entire movie and then like putting it on the internet and like causing the company and all those employees to lose money, you know, because no one is seeing it in theaters. That's bad. But if you steal like a scene, I think, I don't know, I kind of think that's great. Like just post one scene, get people hyped.
Do you ever think it's an inside job?
I do. I think in a lot of cases it is. Because I'm like, how do you know this? But I also think there are many cases where it is just an employee who like gets a thrill out of putting their stuff out there. Yeah, I'm way too scared to ever do that.
Oh, same. I don't think I could. I feel like, oh my, I will side eye the leaks, you know, like gently look at them maybe. But I don't think I could ever do that.
No, I'm afraid to like open up a web page on my work laptop. I'm like, am I allowed to check Yahoo News right now?
Oh my God, it's so real. Sometimes I go into my bank account and I'd be like, what if they know?
You go into your bank account on your work laptop?
I don't keep like any of my information saved.
Are you crazy?
I don't keep any of my information saved, but I just like, sometimes I gotta check a bill, you know?
But
like,
I think they can see everything you're doing.
No, they definitely can. At 100%.
Wow.
But I'm like, that's fine. I'm just like looking at my paycheck that they gave me, you know? I'm not like trading stocks.
You have so much trust.
I know. But I don't like do any like if I'm looking for like a new job, I would never do that on my work laptop.
True. You don't want to give them any false impressions.
It's true.
Or true impressions that you want to keep hidden. I'm even afraid to like log into my bank on my phone on like work Wi-Fi. Because I'm scared they're going to be able to see that too.
That's wild.
I'm just paranoid though. So that might not be normal.
I for a long time didn't do it, and then I just got so lazy one day. I was like, it's time to log on and transfer my my paycheck to my different accounts, pay off my credit card bill.
I also wonder if a lot of leakers though aren't even employees of the company. I actually think most of them probably aren't.
Yeah.
And they somehow like stumble across the information, or they're good at like hacking into accounts.
I think it could be hackers. Like they have a vested interest in trying to figure things out, because if you're working on it or you know someone who's working on it, I feel like you're less inclined to leak because you know how hard they're working on it.
Yeah.
But if you're like a fan who is like rabid and would very much like to know like what's happening,
you have no boundaries.
Yeah.
So while yes, I do think like if you are caught, you do deserve to be arrested probably. I do support what you're doing for the community.
You're like, my thirst for knowledge
Yes.
knows no bound.
My personal thirst for knowledge outweighs your future. Yeah, so that's my hoot this week. Let's do our holler.
Oh my gosh. My holler is mosquitoes.
Mosquitos.
I
Oh my God, for real.
hate them. And I feel like at this time of year, they always come out of the woodwork. And I don't know what it is about like mosquitoes over the years, but I feel like they have gotten more vicious and they bite harder and they swell up more and they last. Like I get a mosquito bite and it is there for like 3 weeks. And then my skin is discolored from where it was for like another month.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what is happening here? Because I feel like as a child that did not happen, but even East Coast it happens, West Coast it happens.
Do you think it's the mosquitoes are getting stronger or you're
Yes.
getting weaker?
I think the mosquitoes are getting stronger because we've eradicated all of the weak ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And now they're spreading like even weirder diseases. I heard there's some new something, like a brand new disease that these mosquitoes are carrying on the East Coast.
Oh, don't say that.
Like I forget. I didn't look into this, but I heard people talking about it. And I think it sounded very scary from what I remember. So
I
be
hate that.
careful.
Yeah. When I was little, I don't know what it was about my brother's blood, my blood, and my dad's blood, but like we would be attacked in the summer. Like I would have to sleep with a mosquito net over my face.
Really?
Because I once got 5 bites on my face in one night, and I was like, I can't go on like this. Like something has to be done. And thankfully, they don't go for the face anymore, but they definitely go for my ankles and my legs, and I don't love them. And I would like them to stop.
Do mosquitoes provide any benefit to society? And by society, I mean like the ecosystem.
That's a great question. I would love to say no because there's so many other small bugs.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some fish somewhere eats them or like something. But I don't know. Have you ever like squished a mosquito after it finished drinking from you?
No, I'm sure it pops a lot of blood.
It does. I've gotten one on my leg and I was like, how dare you? And I slapped it and I was like, there's all my blood outside of my body. Freshly fed. Love that.
Ew, ew, ew. They're so disgusting and so diseased. I hate them.
I hate them. They're just awful.
I wonder if there's a way we can genetically design something to just kill them all. Can we do that? Like bio-warfare, but instead of against like other countries, we just do it against the mosquito population.
And I think no one would be upset.
No one would be upset. The fish can eat some other insect.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I agree. I don't love mosquitoes. That's my holler. And will forever be my
that's
holler.
such a good one. Okay, my holler for this episode is the Veggie Tales.
Oh,
Do you
tell
know
me
them?
more. Oh, yes, I know the Veggie Tales.
It's not that I love the Veggie Tales. I just love the idea that someone was like, oh, let's take these religious tales and then have them told by vegetables.
It's more palatable to young children, perhaps.
As a child, I was not like, give me the broccoli and also give me religious tales.
It's true. Wait, how did you first watch Veggie Tales? Did you see it as a kid?
I saw it as a child, yeah. I think I've only seen maybe 2 Veggie Tales. Are they movies or episodes of a TV show?
I think it is movies.
Okay, so I think I've only seen 2.
Yeah.
One of them was like the David and Goliath retelling.
Oh.
And I think the broccoli, or is he a cucumber? He's a cucumber.
He's a cucumber.
He was David and he had to like defeat, I don't know what kind of vegetable it was. It was very large though, and an intimidating presence for sure. And I think he really learned a lesson about the greater good.
The greater good.
But you know what would be great if they were just humans?
I know. I agree. Maybe it's like the kids are so mesmerized by a talking vegetable, they just absorb what they're being told.
Why not fruit?
Why not fruit? That's a great question.
Why not
veggies
bugs,
are healthier.
Mosquitoes, anything? I just don't I'm so confused by it.
I feel like veggies are inherently healthy. So maybe they're like, yes, we can teach people to love God and vegetables.
And eat their veggies.
Yes.
You know what? That's a really good point. It's all about instilling those healthy habits early on. And you know what? Maybe this is a hoot.
This is a hoot, actually.
Maybe my mind has been changed. But, sorry. This is a holler, though. Veggie Tales, main character is a tomato. Make it make sense.
That's so true. Also, they don't have arms. So I feel like my question is, how do they get things done without arms? Right?
I want to say telepathy, but that seems like witchcraft, and that's not something they would promote.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah,
That's so intriguing.
I haven't watched VeggieTales since I was very young, and now maybe I need to go back and form an opinion on them.
Okay, wait, another question. What do they eat?
Yes. Oh my God, are they cannibals?
Is this cannibalism?
Yeah.
I think in one of the movies that I watched, they're eating popcorn. So that is cannibalism.
That is corn. Yeah. It's just...
But are there corns and is that canon? Are there talking corns?
Yeah, that's what always gets me. It's like, where do you draw the line? Like, who gets to be sentient and who doesn't?
It's like a goofy Pluto situation.
Yes, which is also confusing.
So confusing.
Yeah. Why did Goofy get all the goods? And Pluto is just subjugated to being a mouse's dog.
There's so much to unpack there. And there's so much to unpack with these little vegetables and their families. Is there like interspecies mingling? Like, can a tomato and a cucumber become lovers?
We're raising a lot of things they do not want us to think about.
So many questions. And what does that, I guess, like hybrid vegetation isn't that unusual. Like there's pluots and stuff like that. But like a corn broccoli, what would that look like? Would each kernel be a broccoli?
Ooh, that'd be kind of funky.
I would love that.
Wait, I actually would, if it's like, I don't know if I like the texture that you would probably touch it and probably would feel like moss.
That's
right.
I feel like that could be nice.
Yeah.
Like you're brushing your teeth as you're eating your corn.
That made me think. Made me feel a little funny, actually. I was like, I can't wrap my mind around that.
Corn collie.
Corn collie. Yeah.
Brockcorn.
Brockcorn. Crockly.
Cronkly.
Cornkly.
Yeah. Wait, there's actually a lot to unpack here, and I almost feel like this needs its own episode.
I think we need to chart the history of VeggieTales.
Yes. Let's bring Rowan back, and she'll give us a history of VeggieTales.
I actually think that she would, though. Like, I think that she knows much. Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I would tune in for that episode for sure.
Listeners, you just witnessed the birth of a podcast episode.
Stay tuned.
And thanks for joining. Thanks for joining Elyse. This was so much fun.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. I hope everyone goes to AO3 and reads some great fan fiction. Rediscover something.
Set your filters. Figure out what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Don't push yourself, but keep yourself open.
Yeah. Stay curious and keep reading, people.
Keep reading.
And thanks for coming with so much research. I learned so much.
Of course.
As someone who kind of just jumped straight into writing and never really participated in the community much. So I'm excited. I need to check out AO3 ASAP.
If you have any recommendations or you find that you like, let me know. We can have a little discussion.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Yay.
Well, that's all we have time for today, but we gotta go. We gotta go.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.